Now, welcome back to the channel, where it's just going to be me this time. My wife, Sailor Naboo, she is at work, but she does say hello there, and instead of waiting for her, well, she wants to watch The Wheel of Time, the first 3 episodes tonight. We might do a review on those. But anyway, it's just going to be me, and I just got done watching the Fan First Friday Star Wars The Black Series Haslab Rancor live stream, and, well, it was a bit of a disappointment. But first of all, let me say that the Rancor itself, the one that they showed, the painted version or the painted model, looks really, really good. If that is what the final product will be, or would have been probably at this point, I would have been happy with that. I think it looks terrific. I want them to know, if some reason Hasbro watches this video or cares about my opinion, I think that the Rancor itself is fantastic. I think you did a great job. I think the $350 price point is high, but we'll get more into that later. Right now, though, I think the biggest problem with the Rancor and what is going to cause this thing to tank, to fail, in fact, I just looked at the numbers, it is down about 30 to 35 backers since before the live stream started. That is not a good sign, since you really wanted this live stream to promote the Rancor and sell more of them. But anyway, the Tier 3 in particular, the Salacious Crumb on card back, is probably the worst idea I've seen yet, and that is including the cardboard cutout backdrop, which they showed how it would look, which was kind of strange. Like, yeah, we get it's going to be a big piece of cardboard. That was a really, really strange moment when they were trying to show this thing off and like, look how great this large cardboard is going to look behind your figure. But anyway, the Salacious Crumb is a really odd choice. Yes, he does reside at Jabba's palace. Yes, he is there for the big Rancor battle with Luke. He does look down and laugh a couple times. And sure, a lot of people probably don't have him because he originally came with the SDCC Jabba exclusive from like 8 or 9 years ago at this point. So it's probably a figure a lot of people don't have. But again, it's not really something that's going to sell the Rancor. And they also, again, put him on a card back, which sounds cool and all that, but then you're going to want to, you're basically dissuading people from wanting to open that card back. It's the same problem that they'll have with the Gamorrean Guard, as I've mentioned in previous videos. I don't want to open the Gamorrean Guard if you put them on this special card back with the coin and all that. I want to keep them in package. Plus, most people already have plenty of Gamorrean Guards for their display. At Tier 4 then, they have the retooled Luke, which looked pretty good, but again, they're also going to put him on a Power of the Force card back, which it's odd to complain about that, because I do like those Power of the Force old school card backs and the coin and all that. It's a nice looking display. But I'm not going to want to open that to display it with my Rancor. I'm going to want to leave that on the card back. Not that it really matters, because there's almost no chance we get to 19,000 backers, which is what it takes to get by far the most interesting of the tier unlocks, which I understand you want to make them progressively more exciting to get more and more people to buy. But when your first 3 are very lackluster, you're never even going to get the chance to get to that 4th one. And honestly, at this point, I'm going to be surprised if the Rancor gets back. Like I said, I've been keeping a tab on it since the live stream ended. The numbers just keep going down. We now know all the unlocks. So unless they're going to radically change their approach here, if they're going to drop the price, change the unlocks or something, I see virtually no way this thing gets backed. And even if it does somehow hit that 9,000, I don't see it hitting any of the stretch goals. So you're going to probably have people who, as it gets close, say this thing is, you know, days away and we're at 8,500 or 8,700, you're going to have people who pre-ordered expecting to get stretch goals who are going to drop out at the last minute because that's what they want. They're not going to pay $350 just for the Rancor, which is what I think the biggest problem all around with this Haslab is. I don't think the Rancor itself, now mind you, I'm okay with paying that price because, as I've said before, I'm an idiot. I want this in my collection. But I think most sane people are not going to pay $350 just for the Rancor. And so without any stretch goals, like I said, if this thing gets to the end of the line, if we're days away and it's kind of, or even if it gets over that 9,000 mark, you're going to have people who are going to bail because they're like, well, I kind of wanted all these stretch goals. That's what I bought it for in the first place. So they're going to bail last minute. So this could be interesting if it does even get close. Like I said, right now, it's going down. And even since the Tier 2 reveal, it's been kind of just holding at 5,100-ish backers. And so I think their best bet would be, not that they're listening to me or that I understand the finances behind the scenes. I am not an expert on creating action figures and what it takes to produce them or create them. I fully admit that. But I think the best case scenario is to drop the price if they want this thing to get backed. And I'm sure they have already poured a ton of money into this. This is going to be a huge loss if this doesn't get backed. So if they can afford it, which I got to imagine you can, because $350 for this Rancor is a lot of money, I would say drop it to $299 or even $249. That seems a lot more reasonable for a giant piece of plastic, essentially. Or they'd have to restructure the tiers and maybe put Luke at tier 1, because I think that is a nice figure. I think that would draw a lot of people if it wasn't at 19,000 backers. Or they'd have to just, like I said, restructure the whole idea here. Give us the Rancor Keeper. Give us Ula, which is, during the live stream, that's what everybody was saying, no Ula, no Mula. And, I think it's funny how putting her even at tier 4 would probably really just elevate this thing, would probably really sell a lot of Rancors, yet they can't do it or won't do it. It's hard to say which one it is. And that's because I've seen a lot of people saying there is a list of figures that Hasbro cannot make, that there is a directive from Disney that you cannot make these figures, and that Ula is on the list because she is obviously depicted as a slave. And, well, I guess if you make an action figure of a woman being depicted as a slave, that must mean you condone slavery. Of course, we have to somehow make this weird leap. Yet at the same time, Hasbro can make action figures of Darth Vader or Sidious or Maul or other characters who have ruthlessly slaughtered people, innocent people. They are horrible, horrible characters. That is kind of the point of Star Wars, that we have evil characters, we have good characters, and there's a battle between them. And so you depicting a character who is unfortunately being oppressed by the bad guys does not mean you condone the behavior of the bad guys. But anyway, unfortunately, I don't think we are ever going to get an Ula action figure because of this. Now we could ask, why are we not getting a Malakili action figure, the Rancor Keeper? That seemed to be such a no-brainer that I'm sitting here stunned that he is not one of the tier unlocks. It just feels like Hasbro all around has underestimated or overestimated the excitement of this thing, that they thought, okay, of course everybody is going to pay $350 for a Rancor and they're going to just accept our little extras. When I don't think, again, in the first place, I think a lot of people are very skeptical of the $350 price point. I think that is what's killing this thing. If it's $250, even with the subpar tier unlocks, I think this thing is already backed. I think it's going to get all its tier unlocks. But $350, especially around the holidays, especially with two other Haslab projects that a lot of people who are interested in the Rancor are also going to be interested in, I think this was just a really dumb idea from Hasbro all around. And so anyway, unless they radically change something about this, I do not see it getting backed. I just looked again. It is down 62 backers from before the live stream began, and it is only going to get worse, I think. I do not see how suddenly you are going to find 4,000 people, minus any more that might leave, that are going to back this. I think the Rancor is going to fail, which is unfortunate. As I said at the start, I think the Rancor itself looks fantastic. I think it's overpriced. I think $350 for just a Rancor is too much money. And unless Hasbro is willing to come back and say, hey, you know what, maybe we kind of overestimated, how much people are willing to spend for a giant chunk of plastic at the end of the day, as cool as it looks, that is what it is. I don't think this thing ever gets backed. I think this is going to be a fail. And like I said the last time I talked about this brings up a lot of interesting questions about the future of Haslab, the future of Black Series Haslab. Will they try it again, or will they just stick to the vintage collection? I mean, you look at the Razor Crest, it had like 28,000 backers, I believe. And it was at the same price point as the Rancor. It was also $350. So here is Black Series struggling to even hold 5,000 backers at this point, while the Razor Crest raced to its goal and eventually got 28,000 backers. So if you are a vintage collection collector, this might be some of the best news you've seen in a long time, honestly, because perhaps this will cause Hasbro to re-examine and say, well, you know what? Maybe there's more 3 3/4 collectors and vintage collection collectors out there than we realized. Maybe Black Series doesn't quite have the support that they think it does. I don't know. Very interesting turn of events here. And like I said, I don't think this thing gets backed unless something changes. Either the price needs to come down, or those tiers need to change, or the Rancor is as good as dead. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think about any and all of this. Are you still backing the Rancor? Have you never backed the Rancor? Or maybe are you backing out of backing the Rancor? And what do you think Hasbro needs to do to see this become a success? Do you think they need to change the price or the tiers? And do you think there's any chance they do that in the next 17 days to make sure this thing succeeds? Or will it still succeed anyway and surprise me anyway? Whatever you think, leave a comment below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.